about to go downtown.
Downtown Kay.
Downtown. You about to go downtown.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and welcome to another week's episode of Downtown World Podcast. That's Don't Waste No Time with Negativity. I'm your girl, Kay, and I am truly excited to have this queen in here with us today. Some may call her a journalist. Some may call her a digital media marketer. I call her a queen, guru. She is a humble soul. I will remind her of how I met her. And as well, just an all-around person that really advocates for helping minority groups be better in their businesses as creators and in the music industry. So Nino Reyes, welcome.
Hey, thank you. I really do appreciate your introduction, Kay. I'm super honored to be here, super excited, and super just delighted overall to share about my journey, about my career, hopefully give some good advice. Hopefully, you guys can definitely take some good knowledge out of this and information. So yeah, super excited. Thank you.
Here at Downtown World, we say eat fruit and mind your business. So I do suspect that you'll be giving a lot of fruit today, which is why I'm so honored to have you here. I really want to say, like, you've done so much and your resume is so extensive. And like, sometimes do you ever get a chance to really look back and like look at all the things you've done in terms of like interviews, working in radio, the amount of people you've helped learn radio, like all those things? Do you get time to really reflect on what you've done?
Yeah, I feel like in order to sometimes stay motivated and to stay passionate and to sometimes, continue finding that self-drive, you sometimes have to look at your previous work and things that you did accomplish in order to still to give you kind of like a reminder of like what you have already accomplished and what you're capable of, and knowing that, there's no limitations set to what you can do. And, sometimes, there was a point where you probably doubted yourself and felt like, okay, well, I couldn't do this, and you ended up doing it. So I feel like that about my previous work, where it's like, maybe, at that time I doubted my capabilities and my abilities to do it, and I still performed well. So if I could do that, then there's no reason why I should have fear of, what's to come or jumping on the next opportunity. So sometimes you have to look at your work as a reminder of who you are and what you can do, and why, you invested so many years and time into it. So you have to look at it as a refresher. And I think that's important. And I'm sure a lot of creatives go through the same thing. There's painters, there's artists, singers, musicians, who they have to look at their previous works and say, look, I did this show, I packed that show out, or I did, this event, and look how great it went. So why am I giving up now? I've done all these things, and it's a reminder of you are in your path, So I definitely look at my stuff to remind myself.
No, that's definitely a beautiful space to be in, because a lot of the times, like even early on when I, first started forming this blog, it was like, it had small wins. I won't even say small, because to me, every win was huge, even like me being able to speak with you today, that is a huge win to me, because the fact that I'm like this young Black girl from Toronto, Canada, the hood literally, and like growing to the young woman I'm becoming today, I don't take that for granted, and I find some people along the way, of course, we're not always going to have cheerleaders, and they'd be like, humble yourself, or and it's like, why can't I ever say out loud something good that I've done? Like, why do you think people just automatically turn to quieting you instead of trying to build you up?
I feel like a lot of people sometimes are intimidated by your potential, sometimes because people feel like they can't accomplish it themselves. So sometimes people project on you. They will make you feel like, well, if I couldn't do it, like, what makes you think like you're capable? And they do it in a subconscious level. Some people don't even realize that they're doing it intentionally, or that they're like portraying some form of malice, but it technically is. Like, before we got on this call, I did mention to you about like envy and, things in the industry that are very real. And sometimes you have to like understand that you're going to deal with people like that. And sometimes it be your family, your own loved ones. It could be a friend. And it hurts even more because it comes from people that are directly in your circle sometimes.
Yes.
So you have to kind of like see it for what it is and just know, okay, well, I got to detach myself a bit from that person and kind of like focus on my life path.
Yes.
And because that stuff kind of starts, it's so dangerous having people who push negativity onto you because you will start to believe it. You get me? Like people will make you feel like what I'm saying to you is true. And it's something called the power of the tongue. And this is a big gem, right? Like we constantly say spells. Everything that comes out of your mouth, like it becomes your reality. It becomes what you think. It becomes how you behave and how you act. So even people saying things to you can take a huge effect on you. That's why, sometimes people say, words hurt more than, somebody physically hitting you. Because words are powerful. That's something that stays with you mentally, and it could stay with you your whole life. It could stay there for years, and it's there subconsciously, even if you're not always thinking about it. It's kind of like a reminder that's still in your mind. So I would say, when you have situations and peers and friends who say stuff like that to you, just be careful, remove yourself, and protect your mind.
1000%,
Yeah.
1000%. I know that RIP Pop Smoke, and it doesn't eliminate, all the work that you've done, but that was, I can say personally for me, like no internet cap stuff. I can't even fully explain it, but that one was a situation that definitely like touched me more than I realized it would have, and you personally got to like speak with him on and off camera most likely. And I just wanted to get your thoughts, because you are based, or you're from New York, you represent the Bronx. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I am from the Bronx. Yeah, from New York City.
But shout out, I know you people are proud.
We be proud of our home. Yeah, I think us New Yorkers are very prideful. Like we just love our city.
I love it, Bill. I love it, right? My dad, he used to be in New York, and he used to be a cab driver, and he had the Lincoln, the navy blue, when they used to have the big so definitely love it. But when it comes to like Pop Smoke, and here in Toronto, very similar, like a lot is going on in the city. And it's not that I don't want to support all the young people as much as possible, but it's like at a certain point, I'm kind of tired of talking, and I need you guys to understand, like, I want you to fix up more and stop inviting this energy into your life. I know it's hard, so that we could just see you really prosper out there and win, What is just your thoughts? You're in the media, and we do have a certain power to a degree, and these young women, these young men, these young people, they're out there, and unfortunately they're getting involved in things that are sometimes even out of their control. Just what are your thoughts and your feelings on that, and being in the media space?
Yeah, I think that like with the situation with Pop Smoke, I think that was definitely negligence, right? Like not having security, not making sure that the people that are in your space are checked, that them personally. Maybe a lot of times celebrities and artists and talent are bringing sometimes unwanted people into their space, and sometimes you will set yourself up in a way where maybe it wasn't intentional, but it happens. And sometimes it could be someone in your own entourage. It could be someone in your own team who will backstab you, whether to rob you, to murder you. There's like a whole bunch of different factors, right? And there's a lot of gang affiliations. I think that's a big part about the industry. It's very cliquish. It's like, I'm a part of this set. I'm a part of this group. I'm with this gang. If I'm trying to go from one coast to another, I got to ask for permission, and I got to get clearance. Like, these are things that are real. People are very territorial. And it's like, it sucks that we treat ourselves like that. I find that that's something that is, it's a thing more in the Black and Hispanic community that we push. I feel like we always do things that are very divisive between us. And I find that these are things where it's like, like we're all the same. Let's create art together. Let's find ways to collaborate. There's so much money to make. And all that beef and, the guns and all that, put it down, like go into spaces with a peaceful mind. Don't go in thinking, you got to meet somebody else's ego and then meet them with your ego. And then that's where conflict leads. And, I think it's a matter of protecting yourself. So, like I said, I think with the Pop Smoke situation, it was negligence. He should have had security. He should have had, a nice team around him, instead of like moving around like he's not a celebrity, I will also say that, for some cases when it comes to gang violence and just having beef in the music industry, is stuff that we just got to let go, because we're out here killing each other senselessly, especially with like drill music. Like in New York City, it's happening a lot. There's a lot of big teenage kids, they're like 15, 16, 20 years old, murdering each other over some rap song, like, you know what I'm saying? But it's not even just rap, because they be having actual beef between neighborhoods and stuff. Or sometimes, one of them killed the other boys' mans, and now it's like,
ongoing,
and now it's like,
and
so I think these are things that we need to resolve with love, and we need to start looking at each other like we represent one, like we're from the same city, we're all trying to come up, we trying to be alive, we trying to be healthy. So why are we destroying ourselves? Like, why can't we make some music, and it doesn't have to be towards you? Let's just let go of that. Like, let me just make music of substance. Like, I could put another message out that doesn't have to be a diss song.
Facts.
Or that is violating something that means a lot to you or sacred to you or whatever. Like, we could easily be respectful. A lot of issues could be fixed, but people can't see past that,
Facts. And I will say, one of the people I also do follow on social media is Drewski, and I'm sure you're familiar with him as well.
Yeah.
And I don't, because I don't know the full politics, so I will say that's where I first seen this challenge. I'm not sure if he's like the starter of this recent challenge I've been seeing, where he's just kind of like, we rock with chill music, but I'm not like playing anymore if you're talking about like, your ops and like people's bodies and stuff like that. And I kind of do want to champion that, and I kind of already have kind of been doing that without saying it, but he's kind of like he's not forcing these men, but like helping to bring awareness to say, hey, you can be on this type of beat, this drill music, and still like make fire music without really being that type of like violent or as like boastful with it in a record. We've seen Kanye West do it with Donda too, and like so many projects on and on where we know they have present like beef going on, but there's still a way you can kind of like go about it. Just what are your thoughts on that? You're actually like from the city. I'm just like a spectator, on the outside, but how do you feel about that?
You see, I feel like what Drewski did in this situation is really good, because he has a platform that is a big platform. He works for one of the biggest radio stations in New York City, which is one of the biggest markets in the world, in the United States specifically, especially within hip hop and R&B. So, he's at Hot 97, and he's a great DJ, and he also breaks a lot of talent in the city. So if you're doing underground music, he's going to these different showcases, he's watching you, he's picking up new people, bringing in new records into the station. So he's definitely scouting for people, right? And once you hit Hot 97 and now other people in New York are hearing you and you start to pop off, it's very easy for you to eventually reach fame. It takes time, like fame is not one thing that happens overnight, and it's something that's continuous and you continue to work on. But you could have that one song, and once it's in the station in New York, your whole life could really change. So he's really letting people know, like, hey, I do have power, right? And because I have power, I have the ear of our executives here at Hot 97. I am a good DJ. I am in the music scene. And if you continue to promote violence through your music, I get to stop that. And it's good, because now it makes you feel as a talent like, well, I want to be on Hot 97, so I don't want to be pushing music like that, So it's kind of like, I feel like what he's doing is very effective, and I support it 100%, like, he's doing something to kind of like slow it down. And sometimes you have to take like something like someone's privilege or their power in order to make them recognize like where they're wrong. And an artist doesn't want to lose an opportunity like that, So yeah.
Facts. I 1000% agree with that. And then I'm hoping on my side, I can affect that change as well, because Toronto, it's like crazy, you know, hands down. So also when we're moving forward, it is Black History Month / Black Future Month. I know not all people do agree with the statement that I'm going to make, but I know you represent for like the Latina community, but I do kind of I do see us all as one. I don't really like separate the two, even though I know that's huge controversy over time, you know?
That's how I gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, you know, just being in this space and everything going on this month, you know, what is some like advice that you would give to our minority creators out there, especially in times like this where there's so many different avenues or things you can report on and that nature? Like, what advice would you give creators out there?
Yeah, so some advice I would give creators during, you know, this pandemic time and during a
Right.
time where like just the world is transitioning, right? Like from a media aspect, we're becoming more technological. Everything is just technologically advancing and just life is changing. So make sure that you are building skill sets that you can leverage, right? Like, you know, a lot of jobs now in our profession are virtual. And they're expecting it to stay like that for maybe a long time, maybe forever. A lot of people are not going to return to certain offices, and some people are going to save a lot of rent money, like companies, and they get to allow the employees to be from home. Some employees want to be home. Some people are doing more of like a hybrid version too, where it's like some days at the office, sometimes at home. But the people that get to enjoy those things, for example, like in a corporate but creative aspect, are the people who have built skill sets that they can leverage and make good money. So for example, in the tech business, right, like there are people making easily 6 figures right now, left and right, you know, and they're leveraging their skill sets. Like even me, I worked for one big media company, a big media agency called Universal McCann. I was making less than what I felt like I deserved. I ended up leaving the company, ended up finding another huge company that is international called MediaCom. And now I'm making 6 figures. You know, so I
Congratulations.
leveraged, thank you. I leveraged my skills in portfolio management, which I did previously, to find something that is going to grant me more money, more access, that can allow me to grow, to build, you know, even more skill sets that's someday I can use elsewhere, you know? And I feel like that's how people need to think. You need to think progressively as a creative. You need to find, hey, like, you know, there's certain things right now in our world that are very necessary and needed. They're looking for, there's a lot of shortages and staff. So they need a lot of people. So make sure that you know, if you need a certificate, if you need a license, if you need a permit, go take those tests, go learn it, go, you know, there's money out here. You just got to go find it.
No, I love that. And I hope that whoever's listening to this conversation or watching right now, you were touched by that. And this is your sign to really go and start and do that, because there's jobs out here for real and money to be made. And I love that. Like, you saying that, there's no part of me that's like, oh, you know, I'm like, yes, another woman doing this makes it easier. So when it becomes our time, you know, we can really have our foot in the door and in the space. And it's so important, you know, being one of your roles, digital marketer, and you're so like knowledgeable in that space. What would you say was, because you were also doing this before the panini had started. So what is like one of like, was there any huge transition you can really talk about to say this is something that kind of changed for me with work, or was it like easy breezy, got more clients, kept rolling? Like, what was your experience with that?
It's actually funny. During the pandemic, before the pandemic started, I was a teacher, and I was a teacher, but I was also a journalist. So I still was writing for Blue Magazine. I was still working with different outlets, but I also taught. It gave me as a teacher, I had a lot of flexibility with my time. It's not as demanding as people think if you manage your time properly. And I found, you know, eventually when the pandemic hit, I started doing a transition into marketing. So I started taking a lot of courses, started learning more of PR, learning more of marketing. And I was just taking these courses online. That's why I literally like mentioned, like, go get those certificates, go get those licenses, go learn new things, because there's a lot of jobs out here that are paying a lot of money for certain skill sets, and marketing is one of those. Marketing is needed everywhere. Like every brand, every business, anything that is influential, whether you're famous, a celebrity, BET needs marketing. You know, every VH1 needs marketing. Radio stations need marketing. Everything needs marketing.
Everything.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I want to be in a very like high demand type of industry, and marketing is considered media, so we call them media agencies, right? So you're doing everything from the graphic designing, we have the creative side, but we also have the side where we're doing the strategy and the implementing and the execution. So, I realized like, okay, I want to be a part of that. I ended up falling into portfolio management. So I became easily one of the leaders in it, where I was leading these campaigns, and I'm overseeing, I'm making the final decisions, I kind of have a final say in things, and those things is like, okay, that comes with a lot of power, a lot of responsibility. But I found it to be great. I found it to be aligned with who I am and what I want to do. And I have a 3-year-old son, so I get to like work from home and be with my kid and do things and travel, so it's like, it's fun, and it's all about, like I said, leveraging your skill sets. I feel like that's when I really started realizing the importance of marketing. And eventually I started practicing how to implement those marketing skills into social media. So I started building brands, helping clients. I created my own business called Raver Media during the pandemic. In Raver Media, I offer branding, marketing, PR services. We pretty much help you with everything you need if you are trying to like grow a presence or a foundation business wise. So, like to have that, I think is awesome. Having graphic designers on my team, having, videographers on my team, having, just a team of people where we're making your brand pop off. And I feel like, that's a blessing, it's a blessing. Yeah.
It truly is. And like sometimes even with like my clients, I don't like people who are saying my name and everything. I like to be really like low key and just behind the scenes about everything. But it just makes me feel so good. Like, when you see your work out there and you're like, yes, it's working out for them. Like it's just a good feeling. I can't describe it.
Yeah. That happened to me. So I the previous company I was at was American Express. And with American Express, I would like see, like I was managing their campaigns. So I would, from an international aspect at that. So I would get like on the train here in New York, and then I'm seeing like the ads inside and seeing billboards, and I'm like seeing a kiosk. I'm like, wow, like, like I'm a part of that. Like when you actually see it physically and in person, like when you see a billboard that you were a part of, like you start be like, oh, wow, like, it hits very different. It's like, okay, maybe all those hours are worth it.
And, my family background is Jamaican, and my mom's like traditional Christian. Jamaican. So it's like being first generation of immigration here in Canada is like everything to them is just like, you get a job, you stay in that job forever, you don't leave, and you do nothing to upset that job. So it's like, now that, the world is digitizing and all this stuff is happening, it's like, finally to my mom, maybe I don't seem so crazy, or like, the jobs that, the things that we found easy, now you can just do it and it's good to go.
Exactly.
Right? Like 15-year-olds are making like 6 figures, and it's like, this is crazy, but it's amazing at the
the
same
world
time.
is crazy, yo. It has definitely changed. Still a lot of people struggling, but there's still a lot of people also finding a way. And, there's a lot of options. There's people really just monetizing off of like Instagram and YouTube and making a nice load of money. It's crazy these days. So it really, it's all discipline based. If you really want it, you'll do it and you'll go for it. And if it's really a part of your path and your journey, it will always come and find you. It's like, it's always going to come back. It's going to be a reminder. You need to do this. This is a part of you, but you also gotta listen to the message, and you also gotta follow what is supposed to lead you,
Ooh, fruit. You're giving it today. So I see that are you still a part of 8 at the Table?
No, I used to be.
Okay, so I won't go further there. I see also that you did speak on Raven Media and offering like different resources within that, being branding and things like that. One of the things that definitely I seen you were promoting, and I was like really interested in it and happy that you were like going towards more of this path, because when I initially had discovered you, I actually met you in a media room on Clubhouse. And like,
Yeah.
I never left your socials or anything since. So I'm grateful for the bit of time I spent over there, and I was able to really find some amazing women doing their thing. But you offer a master class, right? And you break down a lot in that master class. One of my pet peeves with these courses, right, is I feel like there's a set of people that just like rope all these people in, but the information really isn't there. They're not really giving what needs to be gave. Like, if
I
I'm
get
just
you.
being honest. And then the turnover rates, it's like it's so low. So technically you're only selling just to, in my opinion, make money off of the student. Just the information you give alone on social media, I'm like, I know what people are paying for has to be super fire. Is that something that you were like aware of, Nino, when you were creating, you know, these classes for people to learn more and grow within their brands and things like that?
Yeah, so I have offered like a journalism masterclass and a marketing masterclass. One of them was on the Black Women in Media Conference, which was around November of 2021. And I also have done it with Black women, Black girls in media, sorry.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, I was able to, give a course to, two different audiences and groups of women, those who are more finding their path and their journey, and those who are more already like in the business itself, and that are powerful women in media, that are trailblazers. And that to me was definitely a privilege, because, I feel like knowledge, right, is supposed to be shared. I always say this, and I always like stress upon that. That's why at one point I was a teacher. I do care about kids. I do care about teaching. I do care about, passing your information forward. Like, you don't learn something so you can hoard it. Like, that's, God didn't put you here. I'm a huge God believer. God did not put you here to just keep. Yeah. I don't feel like God put you here so you can just keep this knowledge to yourself. So I share my knowledge. I've done it for free. I'm always like mentoring people, just even my friends. I'm like, hey, look, I learned this new thing. Like, you should try this out. I'm like, I think it's going to be really beneficial for you, like for your path, your growth. So, right there, I'm passing knowledge forward. I'm learning something. I'm telling you about it because I want you to use it. And, hopefully it'll bring some kind of change to your brand, your business, to you, however, spiritually, physically, financially. So I'm very big on like, having accurate information, teaching. I'm like, even when I come on these interviews, like, in the interview we're having today, I'm sharing information. I'm sharing to you how my mind processes and the things that I know that works and that I think will be beneficial for you and your progress and your growth, to anyone who's listening, right? So it's kind of like one of those things. I think knowledge is definitely for you to keep pushing.
Yes. No, I truly do love that. And you get such like a calm and beautiful spirit. And that's definitely one of the things that have just kept me like following you, not all the time we're able to be like consistent, but I just like always get this feeling about you, like she's really a real one. So I do appreciate like what you share. And sometimes like I have to say these things publicly to you because sometimes you're touching people out there, you don't even realize like who you're touching, who you're inspiring. And a lot of people like they front and then they act like, oh, you didn't do anything for them. And it's just like, why be like that? Why carry out that type of energy? I know I was late today. So whenever you have to go, just
no, we're good.
Feel free to let me know. No, but I definitely like respect your time. So I do want to put that out there.
It's okay. No, we're good.
So recently on your social media, right? If I'm telling you one of the most things I'm like insecure about is like my boobs, right? It's public knowledge. I haven't been like timid with my audience that like I've gotten like a breast reduction because they were like huge girl. And that is definitely one of the things I've been most insecure about on myself, and seeing your post the other day, I was like, I always thought you were beautiful, but like you never know who like doesn't feel that way. I guess everyone has their own type of like insecurities and everything, but like seeing you share that post, like it was so beautiful, and I was like, yes, girl. And I love bear emojis under your thing, but I was just like, I was so like proud of you. And like, sometimes people are like, oh, this girl's just trying to like hate her energy, but like as I said, I've been someone that's following you for quite some time. So I know for myself, that's not what you do. Like, and that was like something huge, right?
Yeah.
What led you? I know you spoke about it in your caption, but just, we're here now. What led you to just making that a moment to share with other women and whoever to be touched by that and to embrace themselves regardless of what they've been through?
So I have a 3-year-old son, and I feel like when us women have children, our body changes drastically for most of us. Not all of us have the luck where we like are really slim and we slim back down, and your waist is tiny again
and all this.
That's not really real for most women. There's women who have the luck, and there's majority who don't. And I didn't have that. I gained a lot of weight. I gained like 60 pounds when I had my son, and my body, I felt heavy. I didn't feel as healthy. I couldn't move as fast as I did at one point. And I started working out. I was like, you know what, definitely going to take, this very seriously because I don't want to be overweight. I didn't want to be obese. Nothing against people who are, it's all a life choice.
Healthier.
Yeah, but I wanted to look good for myself. I wanted to feel good, and I wanted to kind of like snap back into what I looked like before. So, eventually I realized, okay, I'm never going to look exactly how I did at one point because the thickness stays, right? It just comes from childbirth. It's a matter of molding it into what looks good to you. And I felt like, I still have it's a fupa, right? That's what it's called, the fupa.
Yeah, fupa.
Yeah, I still have mine. And, I've learned to embrace it. I learned that, I'm a woman and I'm beautiful. And, it definitely came with a lot of practice. It came with a lot of like programming of my own minds to not feel insecure, or sometimes, we don't feel confident. And sometimes it could be because we maybe don't have someone exteriorly who can remind us or is always telling us, but it's our job to do it for ourselves. Like I got to look at myself in the mirror and be like, you are beautiful. I'd be like, you are beautiful, bitch. I'd be telling myself this.
Yes.
I'll be like, you are beautiful, bitch. I'm like, look at you. I'll be looking at myself up and down. I'll be my own cheerleader. And I had to learn that you're not going to get that. Sometimes we're seeking validation from others. And you got to realize, like, it starts with you. It's always going to start with you, because if people don't say nothing to you, you're going to let yourself get destroyed. You're going to let your mind make you think that you're not worthy because other people are not telling you that. You got to tell yourself that. And that's where your confidence is going to stem from. And that's where you start building that foundation. And that's truly the norm. Like, you should be practicing self-love, but we live in such a toxic culture and society where it's like everyone is trying to push to you that if you love yourself too much, you're arrogant. You're cocky, you're overly confident. Well, I love me. Like, I can't love me. Like, why should I love you more than I love myself, which is what most people expect.
Exactly.
People expect you to be so selfless for them that they think that you can't be selfish for yourself. It don't make sense. It's crazy. So I've been learning to love myself. I'm learning, I've been depressed. I've had anxiety for like the longest. I've dealt with a lot of, we a lot of people are dealing with mental health issues, and you have to do the work personally to rip those chains off. Ain't nobody gonna come and save you. You could go see a counselor and a therapist, and all they can do is guide you. But you need to do the work. So that work comes with telling yourself, yo, I'm fire. Yo, I'm the baddest. Yo, I work hard. Yo, I'm amazing. Like, you got to tell yourself that,
No, I totally agree. And that's why I was saying, like, even that recent project or the singles that Mary J. Blige has been like rolling out, I really like, not that I haven't connected with, of course, is Queen MJB, like, of course, but, this one, we've seen her transform and go through so much. And, she had the record Good Morning Gorgeous, which I like love. And she's one of the older women that I'm kind of like, I hope, I can only pray that I look this fire when I get to this. And like, when she was on her media run and she was discussing it, and she was like, I had to look myself in the mirror and literally say to myself, good morning, gorgeous, I love you, and give herself all these positive affirmations. And we're looking at her like Queen Mary, so you never know like who who's going through what. And it's so important, like you said, for us to do it for ourselves. So many times as women, I feel like we base our like appearance and feeling in relationships, and it's like it's not really something that, you know, I was taught to be like, oh, me, like it's kind of like a male, you do it for the male gaze, you know. So it's very important to like learn those things for myself. And shout out to all my YouTube girls that I love to watch, and they like they help me feel better, and you know, learn these things, and being able to speak with powerful women like you that are just transparent about, you know, what they're going through.
Yeah.
You mentioned motherhood, and I know like before you used to like share more with your son, so I wasn't like trying to like pry into your business or anything, you know.
Okay.
But like with motherhood and being a serial entrepreneur and doing so much, like how do you find that balance?
Luckily I feel like I have a lot of support around me. I have a beautiful mother who helps me. You know, so he has his grandma around. My dad is around, so he has, you know, grandpa around. He
Yeah,
has uncles. He has, you know, just a lot of relatives.
I love
There's a
that.
lot of relatives that help, you know. And I think having a good and a strong and a stable family, like we're able to support each other. Like we know that somebody, I could always lean on someone.
Yeah,
If I'm in a situation where I'm like overwhelmed and I'm like, hey, can you like help me with him? I have that. You know, I'm a single mom, so it could be a little challenging and from that
yes,
aspect, but then to have your family is definitely a blessing in itself. But also like I have, my son is very calm and he's very obedient. And if you tell him to sit down, he'll sit down. So I could like be
yeah,
working here right now and he
and
could
he'll
be
be
in that
here.
couch playing his games
Yeah.
and just, you know, so
Doing his
it's,
thing.
yeah, yeah. But you know, still he needs to be supervised. He's still 3, very curious, you
Yeah.
know, very curious. So, but you know, he's awesome. He's an amazing, amazing baby. I love him to death. And yeah, I had the blessing, you know, like I said, family and him being just respectful and a good kid.
I really love that.
Hmm.
How are you able not to lose yourself
I
and your like
think,
goals and your
yeah.
dreams, you know?
So I think you will lose yourself. I think that's a
Mm,
part of the journey. You're going to go through moments where you're constantly finding yourself, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly shedding old skin in order to like grow into a different person. Like
yeah,
I constantly feel myself going through an evolution. So there's moments where I have to take a break. Like I'm like, okay, I'm overwhelmed with work. Like for example, for like the past 2-3 weeks I've been disconnected from the computer as much as possible.
yeah,
I probably answer my emails the most. I'd be on Instagram a little bit,
yeah,
but I try not to like do, like there was a point where I would have conference calls back to back to back. I would have meetings
yeah,
back to back to back. I will literally like have to be managing a calendar. Like for the past 2-3 weeks I have not been looking at a calendar, so I've been like a little disconnected. And I
yeah.
feel like
It's
that
healthy.
allows me to like take time to like think and, you know, find myself and to be spiritually in tune, because sometimes you're here on these computers and you're getting lost and your mind is like just work 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 and you're almost working like a robot, like a machine.
Yeah.
And that's really scary, and sometimes you just have to like slow down and find like, okay, I need a break right now, because if not you will get lost. And that's
Yes.
the thing, you have to like pay attention to what your spirit, your body is telling you. There's gonna be moments where you don't feel like you're up for it. You should respect that, you know, like, you know, like I mentioned earlier, it's a lot about boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Setting boundaries, saying, hey, I don't want to right now. Hey, I need a rest right now. Hey, I need a break. Hey, I need to like
Facts.
sit and like maybe pray, meditate a little bit so I can like connect with myself because I'm
Facts.
not feeling it. You know,
Facts.
it's so easy to get lost. And I feel like I had mentioned earlier, you know, I went through depression for like maybe 2-3 years. You get lost in those
Yeah.
moments. You're lost when
Yeah.
you're depressed. Your
That dark
mind
space is no joke. It's
is
no
not a
joke.
joke,
Yeah.
and you're kind of like in this dark hole, so you're lost right there, and you have to find your way to the light. You have to find your way to the top and be like, I can overcome this. I'm not letting this, I'm not letting this control me. I'm stronger than my mind.
Yes.
You have to do that. And yeah, I'll say I went through constant situations like that, and it's
Yeah.
just always staying positive and optimistic, and God, pray. um
Yes.
you know, you have to have faith. Faith is really big.
1000%, 1000%.
Yeah.
Standard question that we do ask here at Downtown World, negativity is literally all around us. Even when I go to the grocery store, they be trying me and I'm like, I'm just trying to get my groceries for this week, people. And I would love to ask you, what is a situation, that you could definitely say it was negative, no questions asked about it, but you found a way not to waste any time with negativity?
Yeah. So I was in a situation where I went to a show very recently, and it was like a podcast. It wasn't really like a podcast because it was actually at a radio station, but they have like their own podcast aside from the station. And there were different guests there, and there were different women in the space, and I was getting like this weird animosity from them, and little subliminals thrown through their message like while responding to the interviewer, and a lot of like shadiness going on. And then one of my friends was there with me, so she ended up telling me like, hey, you managed that really well, like the way you just like kind of swiped it to the side and kept moving and answering it with grace. She felt so inspired by that, and she told me that. She's like, because I don't know how to manage that, like I get too emotional. She gets too emotional. Yeah, she gets too emotional. She's like, I get too emotional, like the way that you handle that like was just really like so mature, like a leader, like a true leader. And I'm like, yes, it's like you got to let them know that their message is irrelevant, that they're literally invisible to me, and I'm here to do what I came here to do and serve my purpose. But there was a point where I was ratchet enough to respond to people. You get me?
Yes.
There was a point where I could be very snappy. I could be very snappy, but then I'm like, you know what? This comes with maturity and enough experience from a professional aspect to know that certain things is like you handle it and handle it with grace, honey, And I feel like, that happens sometimes. We're met with envy and jealousy and all kinds of things in the industry. Sometimes people are intimidated by your intelligence, or sometimes it could even be because people are giving you too much attention. Like that happens, right? Like you walk into a room and everybody's looking at you. Now you got people who don't like you. They don't even know who you are. It'd be like, how can you dislike me? You don't even know who I am. Yeah, it's kind of insanity, but it happens and it's sad. And like, I mentioned earlier too, a lot of people are just projecting onto you. People are kind of like just showing what they feel about themselves. And, sometimes you're going to make people uncomfortable with your aura and with your light. So,
Yes, definitely. And just so y'all know, the light has not come up off of Nino because she got that. Okay, she got
the
that.
Light is literally
right? Literally, just speaks to you, right? How many times do people make like the Nino reference to you?
Nino Brown?
Yeah.
All the time. Like it's literally like,
but you have a boss energy, so it like goes hand in hand, right? But like how often?
It's actually funny. There was a guy that was trying to talk to me like I forgot who he was, but we were like at a venue and he was like, what's your name? I'm like, Nino. He's like Nino Brown. So like he looked at me up and down and he's like, oh, so you like a gangster like that. And like the thing about me is I have a certain aura that comes off very boss like, and sometimes men sense it, like, yo, she got some real like masculine energy.
OG status to her. For real. I fucks with it though, for real.
So it's so funny because when he did that reaction, it's like, okay, I already know what you feel. So yeah, that happens to me sometimes, like especially men, they be like, Nino, that's a male's name. Like I'm like, well, it's my name. So you're like, squirrel.
Right. Try it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. And I do like similar to how you're speaking on like spells and spelling and like how, it's literally like so important when we say names are like something that's like so important to me. So I kind of like, I don't want to be in your DMs like cheesy asking you like, so Nino Brown should go be like black. So I think I saved it till a healthy time, but that's dope. Was your family thinking that when they named you Nino, or is that like?
So my real name is Ninoska, and it's Ninoska. So everybody's been calling me Nino my whole life. Like they're like, instead of saying Ninoska, which is very hard for people, my name is Russian, so a lot of people don't really like know how to pronounce it well, or people make all kinds of messes with the name. They'll butcher it, like butcher. So I'll just be like, you know what, call me Nino. And then like I have certain people, they'll be like, not Nina, not me.
No.
Like, I'm like, no, like with an O.
That's dope. And like I'm learning more and more, like especially as like people in minority groups, embracing our name and like not being ashamed and like, you know, just bringing it forth to people and correcting them when they're wrong. Like so many times, you know, remember in school, the attendants, they're like butchering my name. I'm just like, okay, just call me Kay, because I can't even bother.
Exactly.
So another thing I want to ask you, I got carried away in conversation with you, but how did you get started in journalism? Was it something like earlier on, you could say you're in high school, part like school paper or something? Like what was happening?
So you did some research, because how you know that?
I care about who I speak with.
How you know I did that? Like, I got inspired by so when I was in 10th grade, I had an English teacher. Her name was Miss Holmes. She was super dope. I think it's really important to have, you know, Black teachers, you know, Black and Hispanic teachers that represent who you are, and that represent your community, because when they speak to you, you listen more, right? It's like, okay, you understand me, you know where I'm coming from, versus sometimes, you know, there could be a disconnect with white teachers and, you know, either biracial kids or just, you know, students of color, right? So, you know, having a Black female teacher tell me, you should look into journalism, it really made me feel like, what is journalism, you know? And I started doing my research. And this all happened because I had written an article, like a newspaper article, based off a book called A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. It's a really good book about a Jewish girl who grows up in Brooklyn and her experience with her family and so forth. And then when she read the article, she was like, you write really well, you should look into journalism. So I started doing my research. I started liking photojournalism. I'm also a photographer, so I love photography. And I love cameras. I was like, you know what? I want to travel. I want to work with National Geographic. And
I love Anthony Bourdain. He is life to me.
Yes. I was like, I want to travel the world and take pictures of beautiful cities and landscapes and stuff like that. And then eventually, by the time I was a senior, I started falling in love with news, and I was like, I want to be a newscaster. I want to work on like Univision or Telemundo, like, you know, like the anchors that are like on these Spanish networks. And then when I went to college, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick up broadcasting. My school offered it, had a studio. We also had a radio station on campus. So I was just involved in the communication department, like fully, like I was leading there as a student. Everybody knew me. I was cool with all my professors. I was always in there editing, doing work, and really just crafting my skills. And then from there, I became the programming manager of 99.5 FM, which is a radio station in South Florida. And while I was a program director there, I was only 18 years old with my own show, teaching people how to use the whole board, how to use the softwares, and also having like one of the top shows on the station. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm training people. I know how to do this. How can I also monetize outside of just the station? I also started working in the nightlife, in Miami. I kind of brought like the station and nightlife together, throwing dope events in like different clubs downtown, and you know, kind of like promoting the station through it. You know, I just found different ways to kind of like bring our events and our station together in order to like promote it throughout the Miami community. And then just from there, being in radio, I ended up eventually becoming an intern doing cinematography work with a Netflix filmmaker. And then like I was just like learning film at that point, doing radio, going to school full time, just doing a lot. And I was really like in the scene. Yeah, and then from there, moved to New York after I graduated college. And that's when I started co-producing at Eat at the Table and became a cast member there. And then from there, things kind of just started taking off in the New York market for me.
That's beautiful. And, you know, when we think about like our OGs, Wendy Williams, to me, she's still OG in this. I'm not going to like discredit her, you know, and I think about even her story of like going back and forth between the markets, like with Philly and New York, and like understanding like what a shift, you know, that was, especially for women in the industry that had a lot to say, you know. So hearing you shed light on that, I know like it wasn't easy, but you were definitely killing it.
Yeah, you gotta make those opportunities for yourself though. Like, for example, I got into the New York market technically through my child's father. Like, he
Yeah.
had a friend that was working in production and introduced me to it here in New York, and then from there it was like relationship after relationship being built.
Relationship, yeah.
And then it's like, that networking stuff is really
It's
the
real.
key.
It's
Yeah, it's really
real.
the key. So things just took off little by little. Eventually my name became more known. I started getting phone calls from like really like dope big industry folks, and they're like, yo, your name is being mentioned in all these kind of rooms. And I'm like, oh,
Fire.
what? Yeah.
Fire. And that's
I
an
was
amazing
like,
feeling.
yes, it was. It definitely was. And it has been. And we're gonna keep working,
1000%. I highly doubt this is not the last. You're just gonna be going grower. So I'm more than blessed I was able to have this conversation today. You know, what is one of the things you would say you love the most about journalism and that keeps you now in 2022 and beyond being in that space?
What I love about journalism is the ability of expression. I am very expressive. I'm very talkative. I love, like I mentioned earlier, I love sharing knowledge, which as a journalist, you're a storyteller, you're an information seeker, you're a researcher. You have to be very accurate with your information. I love current events. I love following news and politics and what's going on with the world. And I'm such a digger. Like, I like the deepness of things. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, it's not just this that's showing me. Like, there's more to it. I'm nosy on shit. That's the truth
reading
about
between
life.
the lines of everything, girl. I'd be like, yeah, they said this, but it's this. You
But
don't
it
know.
really is. Like, being super conscious.
For real.
So because I love that, I love current events. I just, I'm always looking for information. I think that's the biggest part that drives me. It's something that's enjoyable to me. I love, I'm very intelligent and I like intelligent people. So sometimes I'm sitting around people and they know a lot of information and you want to be able to keep up with the conversation. Like sometimes you don't want to be that person. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm out of the loop. Like, no, you need to go learn about that because it's important,
Yeah.
So, I like being in spaces where like I have knowledgeable peers and friends, and we can talk about things like and things that are of substance. I like substantial things that make sense.
So I asked you something current. I do have another podcast show that I do with my co-host, but I'm a huge nerd when it comes to like the podcasting space and the nerdy news that will come behind that. Of course, we've seen what's been happening with like Joe Rogan, India Arie, and like, just everything that's been happening, Spotify, how they're handling the situation. Just what are some of your thoughts on that?
I'm actually not really that knowledgeable with what happened with Joe Rogan. I just know that he had like made like some racial remarks about Black people, and he had like mentioned going into a neighborhood, if I'm correct, and like saying something about monkeys or apes or something
Planet
like
of the Apes.
Yeah. That's all I saw, but I don't really know what has been like the clapback on that. Like I've kind of been a little bit out of the loop on. Reason why I'm kind of like, honestly, it's exhausting, like hearing always something racial coming out, and it's starting to become very draining on like even my mental, where I'm like, look, at this point, it's like, just don't consume certain things because people are going to say a lot of things and we can try to shut them down as much as possible. But like, for example, from what I know, that Joe Rogan clip was older, possibly, right? It was an older clip. A lot of people are like digging and finding all these archived videos, and a lot of things are going to come onto the surface. That's kind of inevitable. There's a lot of people.
The bigger you get.
A lot of people are going to say things that are not correct, or, that are very insulting, like what he said. But then it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna shoot him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we gonna do? We could
Exactly.
cancel him, but even canceling him, like, he
It's
still
not
has
a
his
solution.
audience.
Yeah.
He still has his audience that are gonna rock with him no matter what. Like that
Yeah.
happened with so many people.
So
How many people
many.
we try to cancel, and
Right?
they
They
have
just
the
went to their
crazy
private
fan base.
island. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, look, like, it sucks and it's unfortunate, but I also do protect people's ability to express themselves. And people are going
Yes.
to share certain things that don't sound right, but they have the right to say it at the end of the day. No matter whether you like it or not, they do. But it's still insulting. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with his comment, but I don't consume his stuff, so I don't
Yeah.
care for him. You know, like, he
Yeah.
doesn't make money off of me.
Me. Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't like it, just don't consume it. That's how I
Yeah.
really feel. You
Facts.
know.
Facts. One of the last questions I'll ask you before I let you go,
Hmm.
you spoke on mental health, which is like hugely important, especially now with
Hmm.
everything going on in the world. And it's something that none of us have ever gone through before, unless you were like alive around World War II or something, you
Yeah.
know? And I love to ask you, what are one of the ways, you practice self-care in your life because you have motherhood, you have your business, you have your
Hmm.
personal life. You just be eating fruit, mind your business, girl. So what are one of the ways you practice self-care in your life?
I get sunlight. I like sunlight a lot. Sunlight is very important for your skin, but it's important for just for your growth, your mental health as well. I do go to spas sometimes. I'll go get a facial. I like foot massages. Like, things that make me feel relaxed. I love napping, man. Like, sometimes you just gotta take a good old nap, and you just gotta let go. You just gotta let go of that rest, boy. And,
Facts.
like, put your phone on silent. Anybody calls, I'll talk to you later when I'm up.
Yeah. Facts.
I like a good old nap. Exercising is self-love and it's self-care. Don't let yourself go. Don't let yourself get obese. Don't let yourself get, all greasy inside. Like,
Yeah, it's true.
take care of your veins, take care of your blood circulation. Just take care of everything internally, because it's not just physical, it's also internal. That's what health is. Eat good, because what you consume is definitely going to
It
affect the way
portrays.
you
Yeah.
think. Um, so yeah, take care of your body chemistry. And I do a lot of those things. I just pay attention to all my exterior factors and what's outside, and I make
Yeah.
sure I could control as much as possible in order for me to be in a peaceful state, but also in a healthy state.
No, I love that. So last question I'll ask you here today, what is one of the most like misconceived things about you you feel like people like assume, and we're gonna dead that today. Liz, we're like, it's not true. Let's dead it today.
Some people think I'm cocky. Some people think I'm arrogant. Some people think I'm a bitch. Some
Yeah.
people, yeah, people think all kinds of things about me. And um, this is the thing about humans. Everybody's gonna have a perception of you. Some people, you're gonna be the kindest. You're gonna be a sweetheart. You're gonna be an angel. Some people are gonna think negative things about you. And honestly, my opinion is, who cares? You're
Facts.
gonna rock with who you rock with, and y'all gonna bond if y'all bond. If that's what your connection was meant to be, it will be that. If the person did not like you, maybe they're not
Meant
they're
for
not meant to
you.
be around you.
Yeah.
Some people would, like I said, they don't have this misconception that I'm mean just because my face, like, I have like a resting bitch face. Like, if I'm walking and I don't smile at you, you might think I'm mean. And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm not mean. I'm really nice. Like, if we sit here
Right.
and talk, if we sit here and talk, and we have
Yeah.
a good conversation, but like, at the moment, I'm just not smiling, and it is what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So, like I said, people are going to have all kinds of perceptions and misconceptions about you, and it's not your job to confirm to them whether it's true or not. If they feel that, let them feel that, and just
Facts.
move along.
No, I love that so much.
Yeah.
I would love for you to let everyone know, what is the best way to get in contact with you. And also,
Hmm.
we're normalizing how you prefer to be contacted. Because I don't know if your roster is full now or not, but people need your help because you do the
Yeah.
damn thing. So, where can
Thank
they
you.
find you? And we're
Yeah.
normalizing how you prefer to be approached.
So you guys can definitely hit me up on Instagram. I think that's where I'm usually most active and engaging with just everyone. I definitely have built my own community of like network based through social media. So you can find me on LinkedIn as well at Nino Reyes. If you look for Nino Reyes, I'm sure you'll find me. On Instagram, it's NRE.24, or you can just type Nino Reyes. You can also Google me. If you Google Nino Reyes, my YouTube will show up. Just different articles will show up, images. And through there, you can also find me as well, because you'll find my handles somewhere throughout those.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely just, connect with me online. I do have my email attached to my Instagram. So if you're ever trying to book something, or if you want to request a consultation, or you have an inquiry, you can just write to me to my email, which is also ravermedia@gmail.com. Yeah, and that's pretty much that.
No, I love that. Thank you so much, Nino, just for your time and all the fruit that you gave today. You definitely chose not to waste any time with negativity, and you definitely ate fruit and minded your business. So I want to thank you so much. And being that, I'm all about women positivity for real, I would love for you to just end this conversation for us tonight. I'm not even going to say nothing after you talk, and just whatever's on your spirit, because something's telling me to just say that. So whatever's on your spirit, you can just say it and share with the people.
Yeah. So a message I will send to everyone is, follow your path, follow your dream, listen to God. Praise God. Although a lot of people are non-believers, there's always something much bigger than you, and we all do have a superior. And that must always be sacred and respected. Take your education seriously, as well as your spiritual health and, your spiritual education. Study about it, study different religions, study spirituality, but also, become educated in whatever profession it is that you choose, that you're interested in. Make sure that you craft, you master something. Like I mentioned earlier, there's so many skills that are needed. Make sure that you're getting those skill sets in. Make sure, because this is where the money comes. These are things that I'm teaching you in order for you to become wealthy, for you to become a successful being here on earth. And it becomes with internally mastering yourself, but also mastering some form of craft. So, finding that thing that you love, do it, be great at it, and constantly learn more and more about it, because that's where you'll really start to master everything you do. And then I would say, spiritual hygiene, always big key. Make sure you know who you're surrounding yourself with. Make sure that you're finding a circle that fits the version of you that you envision becoming. Those are the kinds of people you need to be around, right? Like if you out here in the hood, if you out here, chilling on the block, and you want to be this successful, wealthy millionaire, then maybe you need to remove yourself from the block and go hang out with some people who are working to become millionaires or are already millionaires. So these are things that you need, right? Those are some examples. But yeah, that's all I wish everybody. I wish everyone a lot of health, a lot of peace, a lot of happiness. And take care of your mental
About to go downtown.
Downtown Kay.